Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel, and we have some breaking news for this Monday. From Fox News Live, Colin Powell, former Secretary of State, dead at 84 from COVID-19 complications. Powell played key policy role in Bush administration after 9/11 attacks. And of course, I know him more specifically from the Gulf War with him and Norman Schwarzkopf. I always had a great admiration, a great deal of respect for Colin Powell. I liked his demeanor. I liked his canter. I liked the way he spoke. I liked the way he just carried himself. He was a fantastic individual. General Colin Powell, the influential former Secretary of State and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who played a pivotal policy role during the administration of President George W. Bush, died Monday at 84 from complications related to COVID-19, his family announced. Now, I don't want to go into all of the particular accolades, but as I said earlier, I had a tremendous amount of respect for Colin Powell. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. I felt that he was a genuine individual, so when he would say something, we knew that he was as accurate as he could be and as honest as he could be, despite having to navigate the murky waters of politics. And here he is with George W. Bush Sr., Joint Chief of Staff Chairman Colin Powell, with a congressional gold medal at the White House in 1992. Played a very pivotal role, as I said, in the Gulf War. And I think what stands out here is, I say this for the purposes of detail, not to be dismissive or divisive or insensitive, but my mother's closest friend also passed away from COVID. And of course, she had pre-existing conditions, and as a result of contracting COVID, she passed away. And what her family told us, the way it was described, was that her passing was a result of COVID complications as well, or COVID-related. And I don't know, what the background on all that is, and I don't want to be insensitive to my mother's friend's family or even show any disrespect to Colin Powell, because I don't want to get too politically entrenched with this, but we know that there are certain background bits of information as to why hospitals may be a bit in a rush to lead to this. But I can certainly understand that if you have a pre-existing condition and then you contract COVID, obviously that's going to exacerbate the condition, like people with comorbidity or other issues in which someone could suffer. But the same could be said for the vaccine, because as we understand it, Colin Powell was double vaccinated. So we also saw this with Hank Aaron here in Atlanta. Shortly after being double vaccinated, Hank Aaron passed away. And I was going to pull that article up. I apologize for not having done so, because I wanted to see exactly the way they described his issue, because I don't think it was COVID related or whatnot. As a matter of fact, let me just rephrase that. He was double vaccinated, and then he passed away 2 weeks later. I believe he did not contract COVID at all. However, Colin Powell was suffering from blood cancer, and which left him immune compromised. And we've talked about this here on the channel, that one of the things that the CDC has mentioned when it comes to people being vaccinated, or people who should consult their physician and maybe seek other options when it comes to protecting themselves from COVID, are individuals who are immune compromised, those who suffer from Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm simply conveying to you the information that I read from the CDC and information that we've covered here on the channel based upon medical experts. So always consult your physician is what I like to say. Consult your physician. This isn't politics. I think it's irresponsible of government to simply tell people to rush out and get an injection when they don't know the full ramifications and information behind individuals' particular health issues. Now, I don't know why they labeled it as blood cancer. Again, I'm not a medical professional, so normally it's considered leukemia. But I think that because there are several different types of blood cancers, then they just said blood cancer as opposed to leukemia. I don't know if they're just trying to, dial it down a bit, but clearly he was immune compromised and was suffering from cancer or was battling with cancer. So I think that's just as pivotal to outline here, because I think that one of the things that that's lacking in media, and you guys already know this, that the media doesn't have to be honest. There's no board, there's no committee, there's no authorized body that the media has to be accountable to, they can pretty much say whatever they want. So when they say COVID complications or whatnot, they can say that, or however they want to frame things, they can do it. And of course, they always will. Going briefly back to Colin Powell and Norman Schwarzkopf here, I tried to find the original article from years and years ago because I thought it was quite comical. And that was that CNN was trying to potentially sue Colin Powell and Norman Schwarzkopf during Desert Storm because they weren't giving CNN the information on their operations. Now, you don't have to be a military strategist, right? You wouldn't have had to read Sun Tzu to understand that you don't reveal your actions to the general public, much less a news media out there to get clicks. Well, of course, this was back in the day. It would have been to get an audience and eyeballs, because CNN was the 24/7 news outlet back then. But I just remember that so clearly, how livid CNN got because Norman Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell were not telling them the specifics of their operations. Of course, because apparently CNN, of course, they're all focused on their business and not the fact that, hey, foreign people watch your news media, right? I mean, they can watch you out in the Middle East too. They have satellite out there, at least minimum satellite, if not cable, to be able to watch the news, so they can see what's going on, CNN. So why would you want to be a contributing factor to notifying the enemy of what's going on? So we talked about this on Friday when it comes to the COVID vaccine and the adverse effects and things like that. And I wanted to make a quick mention here as well. Again, this is not to be insensitive. This is not to be sarcastic or any of that sort of thing. Is that in the United States, they are, I don't want to say quick to allude to COVID, but in the United States, they will say things like COVID related or COVID complications. But it's interesting because in China, they do the opposite. So in China, if you had a pre-existing condition and you happen to succumb to COVID, they will go to the pre-existing condition before they go to COVID because, of course, the stigma, losing face, and all the complications that go on there in China. So I just found it kind of interesting that in China, theirs is the opposite. But we talked about this on Friday out of Atlanta here in our local news here in Atlanta. This is why I mentioned it. Although I know a lot of people may say, oh, yeah, but you're quoting from the Gateway Pundit. No, actually, it came from several other sources here in our local area. But I just went with the Gateway Pundit as opposed to, say, our local media. And that was here that one of our players, Brandon Goodwin, an NBA player with the Atlanta Hawks, admitted recently that he got blood clots from the COVID vaccine that ended his season and possibly his career. So Gordon was complaining. He said, I got sick. I never quite recovered from it. I would always have back pain. I was just super tired in the games. I was so tired. I felt like I couldn't run up and down the court. My back was hurting. My back really started hurting bad. Then I'm like, okay, I need to go to the doctor. That's when I found out I had blood clots all within the span of a month. So he got the vaccine. A young man, I'm not sure how old Brandon is. He's probably going to be at least in his 20s, maybe in his mid to early 20s. Got the vaccine. So here's a healthy young man who was probably told by the NBA that he needed to be vaccinated. Now, he's not the only basketball player that is having issues with. Now, he's having a physical issue with the vaccine, where we have Irve from Brooklyn Nets, who is refusing to get vaccinated at all. And of course, this all comes on the heels of China's hypersonic missile. And I wanted to point this out real quick to you just to show you the wording, because we're just talking about intellectual honesty. Now, the first one here, China tests new space capability with hypersonic missile. Okay, so they're testing it. CNN says China denies testing a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile, says it was a spacecraft. So another bit of different information. And here we have from space.com, China successfully tests hypersonic weapon in August report. So, and here we have China denies testing nuclear-capable hypersonic missile. Now, why does it matter whether the damn thing is nuclear capable or not? The fact is that China launched a hypersonic missile. Now, does it really matter whether or not it has a nuclear warhead on it or any other implementation as a weapon? It's a weapon. Okay? But these are the splitting hair techniques that the media loves to talk about because, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be nuclear, because if you want to create an EMP, an electronic magnetic pulse, right, to disrupt the United States, because that would be an amazing way, and I don't say that in any kind of a sarcastic tone, but it would be a very significant way of shutting down a modern country, a typical regular society like the United States, right? Because our first, okay, I can't think of the term here I'm looking for here. First world. There we go. First world. So, as U.S. Air Force Base in Texas has taken the first steps to guard against an electromagnetic pulse EMP attack. But what exactly is an EMP, and how big of it is a threat? So here in this article, it explains what an EMP is, how it's implemented, how it can be done. Normally it's described as being initiated by nuclear weapons, but that isn't necessarily the case. But nonetheless, so you have hypersonic technology being developed by the Chinese. Of course, they're also ramping up their nationalism and so forth. But so it'll be something interesting to keep an eye on. But of course, the news of the day being that Colin Powell, former Secretary of State, has died at 84 as a result of COVID-19 complications. I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support. If you haven't already, appearing there on the screen, that will be the channel icon to subscribe here on YouTube, as well as notifications. And below this video, you can find the various links to my social media, where you can find my daily posts there as well. And I will see you guys in the next video.